Thank you, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke. Meals on Wheels, Head Start, public safety programs like violence interruption initiatives and grants to police officers and firefighters are vital. They must be protected. We are committed to making sure that they are protected in the best interests of New Yorkers and the American people. To speak about the importance of these programs for everyday New Yorkers, it's now my honor to yield first to Rachel Sherrow, the Chief Operating Officer for City Meals.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be here today. Food is a human right. Older New Yorkers who are vulnerable to begin with, in their homes waiting for the meal that they get, is usually the only access they have to nutritious food. If we are impacted by these cuts, it will be devastating for an already vulnerable population. 37% of Meals on Wheels funding nationally comes from the federal government. We cannot imagine the devastation that could create across the country and here in the 5 boroughs. Tens of thousands of older New Yorkers rely on this food. The confusion and fear this causes is also impacting them. We want to make sure that there is no disruption in their services and that they can continue to count on us to get food, which they have every right to receive. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Let me now yield to Shantae Hairston from the Bedford-Stuyvesant Early Childhood Development Center, an important provider of Head Start opportunities here in Central Brooklyn.
Hi, good morning. Well, today I'm here to talk about why early childhood is important. I have a 6-year-old daughter. My daughter started in BSECDC when she was 3 years old. They taught her so many things. Our children learn from play. So as she grew along, they taught her how to read. They taught her how to write. They taught her colors. They taught her so many things. So when she went, it wasn't just us like forcing education and things like that on the children. They played with their toys, so they knew what the blocks was. They knew what a cylinder was. They knew what color it was. This is red. This is blue. This is orange. She knew all of that from 3. When she went to kindergarten, she is at the highest she is the highest person in her class in reading because she learned from early childhood. So this right here is so passionate because our children every day see so many things. They learn so many things, and it starts from little. We need the program. We need the funding. And please, we do not want this to be taken away from our children because it starts from here. It starts from small. It starts when their brain is learning and molding. And we just want this to just be something that's there for our children, where we can keep helping them and educating them, and so that they can be successful people later on in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Shantae. Again, I also wanted to acknowledge the presence of Brownsville In, Violence Out, and Kings Against Violence Initiative, 2 very important public safety and violence interruption programs in our community that were also threatened by this illegal federal funding freeze. Questions?
Hi, Howard. Thank you so much. So yesterday, the President Trump has a press conference, and he mentioned many times about the diversity program, and people are confused what he means. Can you just specify what you mean about the diversity? He's talking against the diversity.
It's a very irresponsible statement that was made by the president. Bodies are still being pulled from the Potomac. Children were killed. Future ice skating Olympians were killed. Future leaders in Wichita, Kansas, and beyond were killed as a result of this tragedy. And we don't need misdirection, and we don't need misinformation coming from the highest office in the land. We need integrity, we need decency, we need leadership. There is not a scintilla of evidence that exists to suggest that women and people of color are to blame for the tragedy that took place. And it was shameful.
How are you?
Good.
Good, thank you. So just quick questions on two things. One, I was hoping to get your reaction to conversations that Governor Kathy Hochul has had with President Donald Trump on congestion pricing. What is your reaction to that possibly getting put on pause or even just pulled altogether? And then also, I was hoping to get your reaction to reports that the Justice Department is considering dropping the charges against Mayor Eric Adams, and if you think that's appropriate.
I'll continue to support Governor Kathy Hochul and her leadership here in the state of New York. I have an expectation that I'll speak with her at some point later on today to discuss the dynamics around congestion pricing, and I don't want to get out ahead of that conversation. With respect to the mayor, as I've repeatedly indicated, he's entitled to the presumption of innocence and to work through the judicial process. Until that judicial process comes to a close, I'll have nothing further to add.
Do you think it's appropriate if the Justice Department steps in, though, and removes that system of justice a little bit?
Same answer.
Thank you, Ms. O'Meara. Good to see you. For both you and Chair Clark, the last 2 weeks, it's just been a flood of executive orders, press conferences. Donald Trump is just making all sorts of comments that you all have responded to. I'm curious, as two leaders in the Democratic Party, how are you thinking about each shiny object, what to respond to, what not to respond to, when to play offense, when to play defense? What's your message to Democrats out there who are looking for kind of a path forward in this new kind of Trump era?
Yeah.
So let me just say this. This is not our first time under the leadership of Donald Trump. We experienced the barrage of cruel and just extraordinary measures that he was taking to commandeer the power of our nation. What we are focused on are the lives of the American people, focused on pushing back, whether it's legislative, whether it's through hearings, and educating and informing the public. There's been a lot of misinformation, a lot of propaganda out there that has been spun by Donald Trump at MAGA maniacs, as I call them, and certainly his administration. We're going to debunk that every step of the way, and we're going to be focused on the American people. So we're not going to follow every diabolical, issue that he throws before us. We're going to remain focused on the lives of the American people, and where possible, we're going to stand against it. If it's a legislative matter, certainly the leader has given us directives on how we will stand together to make sure that we push back hard, and thwart the ideas and the plans that this administration has set forth. Clearly, they put forth a Project 2025 manifesto. That will be part of our guide. They were smart enough to print up exactly what they intend to do. A lot of that must go through the legislative process. We have members of the Congressional Black Caucus on every committee of jurisdiction, many of whom are ranking members, many of whom are ranking members of subcommittees. And working through our legislative channels, we will certainly make sure that Donald Trump recognizes that the American people are not going to fall for his foolishness. We will not stand idly by while he tries to commandeer this democracy and turn it into a dictatorship.
We're committed to finding bipartisan common ground with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle whenever and wherever possible in order to make life better for everyday Americans particularly as it relates to driving down the high cost of living. But at the same period of time, we're going to push back against far-right extremism in defense of the American people whenever necessary. We understand that extreme MAGA Republicans have a strategy. They want to flood the zone with outrage, but we can't chase every outrage. I'm a Yankee fan. That may be getting me in trouble with some of my constituents who root for the other team from Queens, but I'm a Yankee fan. And Aaron Judge is my favorite player, as is the case for many. He's a great hitter, a great young hitter. One of the reasons that he's a great hitter is that he does not swing at every pitch. He waits for the right one, and then he swings. We're not going to swing at every pitch. We're going to swing at the ones that matter for the American people. That is why the pushback was so fierce as it relates to the unlawful funding freeze, because it was a Republican rip-off scheme to steal taxpayer dollars from the American people. And we were not going to stand for it.
Can I ask you about it?
Second row.
Leader Jeffries, may I ask if you have a preferred candidate for DNC chair, seeing as the election is tomorrow? Additionally, when are you going to meet with the president?
I'll have further information as it relates to the DNC at some point today or tomorrow, because I am a member of the DNC and will have to cast a vote. That vote eventually would become public. In terms of the White House, I have no current plans to meet with the president, but I assume at some point, given all the business that has to take place on behalf of the American people, that there will be high-level communication between House Democrats and the administration.
Hi. In that same New York Times story that reported that the Justice Department was considering dropping the charges against the mayor, it also reported that the mayor was horse trading city policy on his indictment. There has been talk, because the mayor has been so deferential to Trump, the public advocate has said that he's too compromised to govern. I was wondering if both of you can comment on that and what you make of the mayor's behavior, and what if, in fact, this allegation in the New York Times is true?
As you indicated, it's an allegation. Jumaane Williams certainly has the ability to speak for himself. As I've indicated, the mayor is entitled to the presumption of innocence, just like every other New Yorker. We'll see how the judicial process plays itself out.
At the end of the day, we have a great city here. We have a city council and a mayor. Right now, we know that our mayor is up against really challenging times. My hope is that Speaker Adams and her team will continue to deliver to all New Yorkers the services that they deserve. And certainly, whether there's horse trading or not, I believe that there are laws in this town that protect all New Yorkers, and I anticipate that those laws will be abided by.
Hey, you said that you don't want to swing at every pitch, but do you think it's appropriate that this city has a mayor who seemingly isn't swinging at any pitch? And do you think he's a good fit for the city as mayor right now?
Yeah, I have more to say about the future of the mayorship of the city of New York at the appropriate time. Right now, we're going to keep focused on the need to look out for everyday New Yorkers and everyday Americans who are under assault by an extreme MAGA Republican agenda that is trying to cut taxes for billionaire donors and wealthy corporations, and then stick New Yorkers and working class Americans across the country with the bill. That's not acceptable. We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets. Thank you, everyone. One last question. Yes.
Marsh is asking, there those who say the Democratic Party has not yet arrived to take on Donald Trump and some of his measures he's enacted, what are you going to do as the minority leader of the House, and what are the things that you are most determined to block if you can?
It's an important question. As was demonstrated this week, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, Democratic governors, and everyday Americans all across the country rose up in defiance as it relates to the illegal, unlawful, and extreme federal funding freeze that is part of the Republican rip-off agenda. We fought it, we stopped it, and we will never surrender. Thank you. Thank you.